In my last video, I talked about how I was fired from Swift, and at the end of that video, I mentioned that I got hired at another company. That company was Ryder. Now, before I got hired at Ryder, I want to talk about the process and the transition from getting fired to being unemployed to getting hired on that Ryder. When I got fired from Swift, I started applying to companies, and every single company kept telling me the same thing: drive 6 months to a year with another carrier incident free. But I kept thinking to myself, how am I going to do that if this carrier wants me to drive with another carrier and the next carrier says the same thing? At that point, I just got tired of applying to companies and I started waiting on them to call me. I finally got that phone call at the end of July because the last time I put an application in was like late June, early July. And I was like, dang, they just not calling. I'm like, they must be doing some serious hiring. But anyways, I got the phone call. It was an interview. The phone call itself was an interview. Then they asked me to come in and do an in-person interview with the senior dispatch manager. So I get to the interview, and I'm expecting it to be an interview, but it was just an overview and explanation of what I'll be doing, the money I'll be making, and if you're a CDL driver, people tell you how much money you're gonna make. You really don't believe until you get in the door and start seeing it for yourself. But I can honestly say that Ryder was one of the companies, because that was my second truck company, is a company where they tell you how much you make. You'll make just that or make a little bit more depending on how hard you work or how much you work or whatever. But I can honestly say that they are honest with their pay. Probably a little too honest. It felt like I already had the job because he told me what I'll be doing and where I'll be going and things like that, and the shift, the schedule, and how things work. He talked most of the whole time, and I only opened my mouth like 3 times. Like, there's some questions he asked me, like about my drugs, clearinghouse, things like that. And at the end of the interview, he asked me if I want to do a road test. So did the road test, passed that. Didn't do a pre-trip, nothing like that. Just did a road test to their shop and back. And when I came back, I was supposed to accept the job right there at the office, but he was still going to lunch. So they told me to be on the lookout for a phone call or interview the next day. Next day, recruiter calls and I accept the interview. I accept the job, and I start orientation and training. Now, training was only like 5 days, but only did 4 because I had got the hang of it. But basically, all they did was I had to ride with another driver, and they had to show me how to use the handheld device, because when we get to the stores, we scan the pallets when we take them off, and there's a certain way you do it. Really wasn't much to it. All you had to do was scan how many pallets they took off or if they put some on. And they showed me how to use the handheld device, because that's how we did our pre-trip, post-trip inspection. As far as the routes and stuff go, like the schedule and things like that, we were dispatched between the hours of 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. because grocery stores want their freight early in the morning so they can unpack and stock it for customers that day. The good thing about the schedule was we could choose whatever time we wanted to go out. So we'd call dispatch and tell them what time we wanted to go out, whether it was 1:30 to 2:30. Now, the earliest I would go out was like around 2:30 because I ain't want to keep waking up in the middle of the night. I would try to get as much rest as I can because I try to go sleep around 6, 7 p.m. Now, it was okay. Like I said, I didn't have a job at the time, and it worked well for me. Looking back now, because I always like think to myself, like, how did I not call out? Looking at that kind of schedule, getting up at 1, 2, 3 in the morning, 6 days a week. And when you get hired, they don't tell you that the schedule is 6 days a week. On the application, it say 5.5 weeks, 5.5 days a week. But here's how it works. So you work Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday, getting up at 1, 2, 3 a.m. 6 days a week. So once you get off Saturday, you'll go in Friday night and get up Saturday morning, for Saturday. So once you get off Saturday, you off for the rest of the day, and you off Sunday. So you would get off around 10, 11, 12, or 1 on Saturday. I would try to help them get off early because it's on like a day and a half of rest. So you got the rest of Saturday to yourself. Now come Sunday, you got some rest, for the beginning of the day. But at 5, 6, 7 p.m., you got to lay back down and get ready for Monday again. So it was almost like no life. Had to do that for like 6 days a week, 6 months straight. I was only there for like 6 months because I just recently moved. And I just remember looking back, like, how did I not call out? Like I just like, I never like missed a day like working there. Like I never got sick there, like thank God. But like I was just looking back now, like how did I not call out? Like, but now I know that I will never work like that again. I miss the money, but I don't miss the schedule. As far as the job go, his description. So when we get to the store, all we do is scan the pallets when they take them off. So they take it off with a manual or electric jack. But there were a few stores where we had to use a manual jack ourselves because they didn't have a ramp or a dock. So they would get a jack and they'll put on the forklift, put on the truck, and we would pull the freight to the back of the truck and they would get it off with the forklift. If you didn't have a backhaul, they would put pallets back on the truck when they're done. So like I said, some days we have 2, 3 stores and we might not have a backhaul, and there'll be some days we have one store and we do have a backhaul. Now backhaul, we will pick up things, you know, for AWG like charcoal, cheese, eggs. As far as pay, Ryder had component pay, which I believe every trucking company should be paying like that. But so you got paid cents per mile on top of your stop pay. So if you had stops on your paperwork, you got paid for every stop. You also got breakdown pay, detention pay, and layover pay. Now, as far as the pay, like as far as like the cents per mile, they had like a range pay. So if you drove less miles, I think it would go all the way up to like $1 or something. But if you once you get past 200 some miles, 250 or 60 or whatever, it would cap out at 67 cents per mile. Now I always drove over 200 miles because you know them the routes where I got or available whatever. But anyways, I got paid 67 cents per mile and I would get paid $25 per stop. So I will try to get a route we had at least 3 or more stores, you know, depending on where it was going and things like that, and if it was a layover or not. But I remember there were days where I had to go to like one store and I have to drive a couple of hours for the backhaul, or there will be routes where all 3 stores were right beside each other and I didn't have a backhaul. So it fluctuates, seniority rules, so things like that. But let's say for instance that I had a route that was 300 miles. So 67 cents per mile times 300 is 201. Let's say I had 4 stops. Now, let's say I had 3 stores and 1 backhaul. So remember, the stores you stop at, they were $25. But when you get backhauls, they're worth $30. So that's $105. So 105 plus 201 is $306. So you made $306 that day gross. You do that 5 days a week, $1,530 gross, like that's good money. Now, there were weeks where I gross past that, and there were weeks where I grow less than that. It all depends on the weather, routes, and and seniority and things like that. So that's my summary of Ryder. If you guys have any questions or concerns, just let me know down in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to you. Thanks for watching.